Hi, this is my video that I was talking about nuclear waste before, and I'm going to use the metaphor of running a marathon. Okay, in my earlier metaphors, I used the metaphor of burning a log or burning a tree, cutting down and burning a tree. But this one, I'm going to use the metaphor of your body systems, like your glycogen system and your ability to consume fat. Okay, in this metaphor, your fat and your glycogen stores are uranium. Glycogen stores being uranium-235, and your fat stores being uranium-238. Now, I don't know if you know anything about this. Is that on average you store about 2,600 calories of sugar or glycogen. Sugar, let's just say sugar from now on. 2,600 calories worth of sugar, and you can at maximum, and you can store up to about 100,000 calories of fat. Yeah, that's that's someone who's like 80 kilos. So basically, the average person exercising flat out uses about 800 calories an hour. So 2,600 calories doesn't get you very far. You could run a half marathon on 2,600 calories, but you definitely couldn't run a full marathon. But whereas on your fat, you could essentially, I remember a statistic from Hammer Nutrition that said that based purely on consuming fat, you could run from Portland, Oregon to Los Angeles. Well, if we think about when you dig uranium up, it's got 0.7% uranium-235 and 99.3% uranium-238. So basically, you boost it through enrichment, and in this marathon meta, boosting through enrichment is like like carb loading. You're slightly increasing the ratio of your sugar, your glycogen stores, or your uranium-235. So in a reactor, there's two things happening. There's two potential things happening. One is where the sugar is being consumed where the uranium-235 is being consumed directly and becoming fission products. And in this metaphor, fission products are kind of like, think of them like fatigue metabolites. Like you build up of lactic acids and other things. You can't really use them, but they clog up the system. So a secondary process which is important is the process by which uranium-238 absorbs a neutron and then converts to by two steps of beta decay to plutonium-239, and then it gets consumed. In this metaphor, that's your fat. Now your fat, if you're not familiar with this, basically your fat doesn't directly get consumed when you consume fat. Your fat converts to these chemicals called ketones, and ketones they then convert to get metabolized, and they get metabolized by every cell in your body except for your neurons and your red blood cells. That detail isn't important in this metaphor. So in this metaphor, fat is uranium-238. It gets converted to ketones, and the ketones are essentially, in this metaphor, plutonium-239, and your glycogen stores are uranium-235, and your fatigue metabolites waste metabolites such as lactic acid. Think of lactic acid as the nuclear equivalent being something like xenon, which is a neutron absorber. So it clogs up the system. So basically what happens is that most reactors are what's called thermal spectrum reactors, where they're optimized. They're like, think of them as like sugar burners, and you run them through like about a year to 2 year cycle. So in this metaphor, most nuclear reactors are essentially doing half marathons. It's like a runner. Their ratio of glycogen is boosted for enrichment, and then the fuel goes through the cycle, and it's like a runner starting on a race for a half marathon. And so the runner does the half marathon, and they might start out with like 2,600 calories, but they blow from them, but they don't go over it. So primarily they're using their sugar, or their uranium-235. Now, obviously, the breeder reactors, which are optimized to run on uranium, they convert uranium-238 to plutonium and then consume that, or to make that process self-perpetuating. That is analogous to, say, an ultra-endurance runner. Ultra-endurance runners, or even a full marathon runner, once you get past 30 kilometers or 20 miles in a 26-mile race, which is 42 kilometers, you're blown through your glycogen stores and you really feel it. So basically what happens is that breeder reactors are sort of like marathon runners or ultra endurance runners. They can go for a lot longer, but the metaphor kind of breaks down because they have to start with a high percentage of 10 or 20% enrichment, if you've seen my last videos. So that's where the metaphor breaks down, but that's another way of you can use these ways of thinking as easy reference points to, these metaphors as easy reference points, because these metaphors, they kind of cover all the bases and sequences. So yeah, that's all for now, and I'll finish up with that.